let these words, these questions, our reflections, and our actions proclaim a healing word in a hurting world. Amen. When I was in my second year of college, earning an associate diploma in public relations at Mount Royal College in Calgary, my younger sister gave me a gold cross for Christmas. I'm usually a crybaby at Christmas time. I don't know why. Just whenever I open a gift, I start to bawl. And it's just because my heart's open to love, and it just is. And this was no exception. I opened it not knowing what it was, and my eyes sprung a leak. It was a big deal for two reasons. The first was the fact that my sister gave it to me. She's my younger sister, and she and I are now quite close. It was her son's wedding that I presided over in Alberta in November. We're quite close now, but when I was 21, Pam and I didn't see eye to eye. We had very different values. So having this gift come from her was really special. And of course it was doubly special because it was the cross. And I had just been ordained an elder, confirmed and ordained an elder at 21 at Knox United in Calgary. So my love affair with the church was beginning to blossom. The cross was a symbol of all that is good and beautiful in the church, at least according to me at 21. However, when I was covenanted with my teaching congregation in Asuyus in about 1999, a woman who thought I walked on water gave to me a huge silver cross on a massive chain. She wanted to see it on my alb. I didn't have one at the time. I've never worn it. I never will. It is the ugliest thing I think I've ever seen. And I never, ever wanted to be that pretentious. It has taken me a long time to put this album. The cross. Lots of people have wondered why we don't have an obvious sign of the cross on the inside of the sanctuary. After all, the cross is our Nike swoosh. We're compelled here by a different thought to carry the cross in more subtle ways in the sanctuary and in the narthex, and I hope that you can see on the front of the baptismal font the cross that's in the narthex. I hope you can see the double cross in the stand of the communion table. I never saw that. I bet you thought it looked like a jack, right? One of those things you played with, a jack and a ball. There's a double cross. It's like the table is kicked the cross on its side. That's kind of cool. The cross. A symbol of torture and death in the first century is indeed our Nike swoosh. It's the visible and recognizable sign that the Christian tradition lives in this place. And you need not worry, friends. For those of you who are wondering, the new sign that's being placed on the exterior east wall here, facing Mountain Highway, will have a cross on it. The cross. For survivors of residential schools compelled to carry the cross, being taken away from families and cultures, the cross became the symbol of white European oppression and cultural genocide. Now, for other Aboriginal communities, according to my Anglican priest friend, in northern in some northern Aboriginal communities, the cross is the place where you hang everything you regret. They have a tradition of throwing whatever it is on the cross. The cross. We know nothing more of the man who was compelled by the soldiers to carry the cross for Jesus to Golgotha, the place of the skull, other than he was from Cyrene. We meet Simon of Cyrene only once. In the three synoptic gospels, we meet him in the same place, compelled to carry the cross. The Gospel of Mark tells us he has come from the country, from Cyrene. Cyrene was a major city of Libya in northern Africa. A large number of Jews lived there who had been there so long. With intermarriage between Jews and Gentile converts to Judaism, there can be little doubt that Simon was a dark-skinned African Jew. He was likely there in Jerusalem for the same reasons that all the other Jews were making their pilgrimage to Jerusalem for the Passover. He was doing what faithful Jews did. And what happens to him is purely the providence of God that put him in the wrong place at the wrong time. The soldiers with positional power compelled the black man from Libya to carry the cross. Compelled. Think of that word, compelled. Compelled. This is the same word that appears in Paul's letter to the Galatians as Paul describes the time Titus, who was a companion of Paul and Barnabas, a Gentile follower, Titus was not compelled to be circumcised. I get that. This is the same word that Paul uses in the book of Acts, talking to the Jewish elders of Rome about his decision to speak to the emperor when he was held up on trumped-up charges. Compelled to speak against his people. Forced, leaving us with no option, no choice, compelled. Imagine the experience. What would it have been like for Simon of Cyrene, a Jewish bystander, in Jerusalem for the pilgrimage, to have no choice, no option, but to carry the cross of Jesus Christ to the place of death? Just a guy in the wrong place at the wrong time. Happens to be dark-skinned. So many questions have landed on me this week as we go into this Holy Week time. And I'm going to invite you to just hold those questions with me. Think on them. What is the cross for us? What are we telling the community when we put it on the end wall of our new church building? What are we saying? What is it? Why is the cross like our Nike swoosh? The cross, the empty one, particularly for Protestants, but the cross is a symbol of torture and death. For Simon of Cyrene, it was a burden. Picked, providence of God, compelled. Why do we wear crosses around our necks? Is it simply jewelry? There's way prettier jewelry. Then, what what's it like for us to carry that cross? What's it like for us to be compelled to carry that cross? Are we carrying it as followers of the risen one? Did we just happen to be in the wrong place at the wrong time, born in the family that we were born, enculturated, formed, shaped into this tradition that we just fell into? Is that what it is? Compelled. As followers of the risen one, did we intentionally pick up the cross in unity with the crucified one, to proclaim, like Thomas, let us die with you. Let us give our lives for the gospel in order to get it back. As followers of the risen one, do we welcome, my little child. Left. As followers of the risen one, on the other hand, do we carry a cross as the burden that is light? Because we've been changed by the gospel, living freely in the grace we've experienced. We know nothing else of Simon's story. Nothing. He appears nowhere else in the Bible. We know he carried Christ's cross when he likely least expected anything like that to happen on this trip to Jerusalem. And you know the cross will land on us this week. It will. We will carry it too. May we be changed in the doing. I wonder what that will look like. Amen. Let this prayer land on each of you as if you were praying it individually. After the parade, love me, God. After the Hosanna in the brightest wordy jingle, soundbite, save me, God. After I've organized the donkey and started the trend for cloak spreading and palm waving, after I've convinced even the stones to cry, after the record-breaking end-of-season special frenzy of blessed that will turn to Barabbas, after the parade of my life and the sleeping, the kissing, the hand-washing of an easy world, take me, God, to the place of a morning crowing, for the taste of tears, and teach me that the things that make